many of you are paying attention. Okay, second one. Now, before I start, I'm going to make a point, but I want to ask you to guess the song or the singer. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I play the whole thing, you will know immediately what it is. Okay, just going to play a fragment of it, and let's see. Just shout out from where you are. Anyway, the chapel's big enough. Let's see if you're able to guess the title and or the song. Okay, first one. Anyone? What a Wonderful World? Who? Louis Armstrong. All right, let's see. All right, okay, next one. Next one. Okay, I kind of have a grasp of what your ages are already. Next one. You'll be surprised at this one. Huh? Spyways? Nope. Try again. Cannot. I can't be the only old one here, right? This one? Hey, maybe you can play this for church camp. Don't forget the lyrics. Give up? Okay, let's click. It's Your World Now by Eagles. They are not just famous for Hotel California. They sang other songs as well. Okay? Next one. This one will tell me whether you're of the younger generation. Anyone? Shout out from the back if you know. I really should have bet on this one. Okay, let's go. Wake Up America, Miley Cyrus. All right. Okay, next one. This one you got to be my era one. Fundraising dinner over already. And I want to challenge the notion that the pastor must sing at every church camp. Okay, this one, anyone? Wow, really? Okay, next week. Don't Drop That Bomb on Me, Bryan Adams. You think what? Everything I do it for you. No, he's more than that. He's famous more than that. Okay, next one. This is a relatively recent one, 2019. The title is so easy, after that you face palm. Okay, yeah, almost correct. It's actually just called Earth. But correct. It's the chorus goes, "We love the earth." Little Dicky. Now, if you watch this on YouTube, you need to watch the clean version because it's quite vulgar. Okay, strange as it is. Okay, last one. You all will know one. Oh, I hear oh, but what's the... Heal the World, Michael Jackson. All right, that's right. This is a famous one. Now, next slide, please. Now, what connects the dots? That's why I'm asking. What connects the dots? What's the common theme between all the songs I've showed you? Well, the common themes throughout all the songs I've just showed you is that it's about saving the earth, saving the environment, right? And the world is very big on that. Earth Hour, electrification of transport. Now, how should Christians be involved in this? Should we also be interested in saving the earth? Of course we should be interested. But our motivation is slightly different. Our motivation, our start point is this. This is God's creation. And as people of God, we ought to care for His creation. So Christians should be very, very interested in saving the environment. Okay? But there's a slightly different objective because our worldviews are different. I'll get to that in a while. Now, as far as the world is concerned, when they talk about saving the earth, what's the end goal? What is the objective? Next slide, please. The objective is really to make the planet sustainable, to make sustainable living. That's the focus. That's the message in all the media messages, all the movies that you've talked about. Okay? But what is the Christian attitude towards that? We're interested in preserving taking care of the environment, right? Taking care of creation. But that's not the main objective, right? So what is the main objective? What should be the main objective? Now, to answer that question, I want to bring you back all the way to the beginning, Genesis. Now, before I go into Genesis 2, if you had read Genesis very carefully, you will run into problems, which I will explain in a while. So it's helpful that as we approach Genesis, we read Genesis 2 in this manner. First of all, Genesis 1 is the overall picture, the broad overview. Genesis 2 is a story within Genesis 1. Still true. So Sunday school teachers, don't worry. We are not teaching heresy to our children. God chooses to arrange the narrative differently. I will get to this in a while. Now, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 5 to 7, we read that when no bush was yet in the field, and no plant in the field had yet sprung up, there was no man to work the ground, and the mist was going up from the land and watering the whole face of the ground. Then the Lord God formed the dark. Hang on. No bush in the field, no tree. Wasn't that the third day? What's going on here? I thought man was created on the sixth day. Die lah. Now my Sunday school teachers are panicking. How? Relax. Let me put it this way. Supposing you are baking a brownie or you're baking a chicken pie, and I have a particular weakness for a particular chicken pie from a particular outlet. Okay? Now, when is the point you say you bake the chicken pie or you bake the brownie? At the point in which the food is ready to eat. But when you start, at least 90 minutes to 2 hours beforehand. So you could have started then, but you bake the brownie that comes out now. So don't panic. Man was still created on the sixth day. But when God started, different story. How long he took, different story. Okay? And don't worry too much about the sequence. Why? The sequence is not as important as the fact that it did happen. So don't get into a fit over this. All right? It's not something worth splitting hairs over. What is important is that it did happen. Man really was created on the sixth day. But when God chose to start, that's up to him what? Okay? Now, we could come up with all kinds of hypotheses and theories, and it's really not important. Don't let that get to you, okay? Now, what was God... Oh, sorry, before I get to what God was up to, let's talk about verse 8 first. And then God planted a garden in Eden. So he created everything already, whole earth created, then he planted a garden in Eden. Okay? You and I, we think garden as, private house, that small backyard thing. That's because we're from Singapore. We think small. It's more helpful to think of garden in the size of Botanic Gardens or St. James's Park, London. Okay? Big. God, after creating everything, planted a garden and put the man in there. Basically gave him his very own house. And out of the ground, God made to spring up every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. Straight away, I'm thinking durian already. The man had everything in the garden to eat. Why he want to select the tree of knowledge, I don't know. Sometimes, as you have some of you have heard, I wish Adam was Chinese. If Adam was Chinese, the snake come, he eat the snake. Problem solved, no more sin. Now, the tree of life was also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. There are two trees which are there. Time does not permit me to go into this. This is a subject of an entire sermon in itself, and it gets me excited. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. So whole garden, Botanic Garden is considered small already. Okay? Within the garden, two trees. Tree of life, tree of knowledge. What was God up to? Why did he do this? Well, creation was meant to be a work of beauty. If you like baking, that's your work of beauty. Now, I used to assemble plastic models, aeroplane, tanks, ships. So that was that work of beauty. That was something I enjoyed. When it comes together, when I put everything together, paint it, put the decals on, I feel a profound sense of satisfaction because, hey, I made this. It would have been better if I made it from scratch, but I don't have that skill. Okay, so creation was meant to be a work of beauty, and man's place was to partner God in caring for it. God didn't need man. He never needed man. But he wanted, you see the difference? He wanted man to partner him in caring for it. Okay? And man was supposed to rule on God's behalf. The problem with us today is we rule as though we are God. But no, originally we are supposed to rule on God's behalf. All creation was supposed to encounter God's goodness through the actions of man. That was the original intent. Okay? Because as human beings, as the climax of God's creation, we represent God to creation. And one of the ways in which Adam expressed that representation was by naming animals. God allowed Adam to name the animals. He gave it to God. Didn't name the animals. He told Adam to name the animals. Okay? And subsequently, woman was created as a helpmeet. I know I butchered the language, but I think this conveys the meaning a little bit stronger. Woman was created as a helpmeet for man. It's created out of his rib. Now, incidentally, the Hebrew word for man and for woman is quite similar. Hebrew word for man, ish. All right? Hebrew word for woman, Isha. You add an AH, it's a feminine version. Sa, prince. Sarah, princess. Sarah. Okay, so there you know. Woman was created as a helpmeet for man, and man and woman were supposed to be an independent, self-supporting, and self-perpetuating unit, completely open to one another. That's what it means by they were naked and not ashamed. It's not just that they were not wearing clothes, but that there was nothing to hide from one another. Right? Now, then sin came and ruined everything. Now, when sin came, the problem was that man tried to take the place of God. We were supposed to partner God in caring for creation. We end up behaving as though we are God. And you look at the mess that we are in today. Everything is a sick parody of the original design. Now, I still want to circle back to the question. Is it therefore wrong to want to save the earth? Is it wrong for Christians to want to save the earth? My answer is, well, it's not wrong. Obviously, we should. But what you see in the media, while noble, is misguided because you're trying to do it without God. You're trying to save the earth. My view is you probably can only arrest the decline now. At the rate we're going, it's unlikely we can save the earth in its current form. Okay? The problem with what the world is trying to do is they were trying to do it without God. Now, Christians, on the other hand, save the world by acknowledging the real ruler. Cop out, why? Now, the reason why we save the earth by acknowledging the ruler is because we understand only He can save the world. Now, how to really save the earth? Not through the activism you watch on the media, because it's a different focus and a different object. Different object means, different aim, different mission. Christians save the earth by giving glory to the real ruler of the world. Again, I emphasize, only He can save the world. And He's going to do it. Right? Now, what is our part to play? When the real king is unveiled, all beauty and order of creation will be restored. Climate change, not a problem. You want him to reverse the ozone layer, not a problem. Can be done. But only when when his reign is fully realized. Now, interestingly enough, even though God is the only one who can save the world, He, for some strange reason, insists on having a part for us to play. There is a part for man to play. So what is it? Now, I want to bring you back to Genesis chapter 2. What was the original design? Man was put in the garden to tend to the garden, to protect, to preserve, to defend its beauty from neglect. That was our part to play. And interestingly, that was Adam's worship to God. Now, I trust you are seeing where I'm coming from. You can really guess where I'm going with this. You see, we are no longer, our jobs is no longer just to earn a living. The work that we are in is no longer just to support the family anymore. It is our worship to the Lord. Now, I chose my words carefully. I say our work is our worship to the Lord. I never said our work is our God. Different. I'm not asking you to be workaholics. I'm asking you to look at your work through the different set of lens. From now on, whatever you do, that is your worship to God. Which has the potential of making us uncomfortable because, hey, are we giving our best to the Lord? Are we giving God what is right, or are we giving God what is left? Your call. Okay? So, how's that for a mindset change for your work? You see, Adam, when he was tending the garden, he was not just working. He was working in step and working in concert with God. Now, that can be quite mind-blowing. That means from now on, your area of work, the company you're in, whatever firm you serve in, whatever school you're in, whatever you're doing, has the potential of becoming your offering. So whatever piece of work you're doing, however mundane it is, your bosses may not always notice you. Now, it happens even in clergy ranks. Let me tell you this. Okay? Whatever you do may go unnoticed by human bosses. But I assure you, it will not be unnoticed by Him. All right? Okay. So, saving the earth, as we understand it from the media, is not the climax. Now, if that's not the climax, then what is? For Christians, what is saving the earth for us? Saving the earth for us is a full manifestation of God's glory. When God's glory is made full, is manifested in full, when His reign is fully realized, that's where we save the earth. We acknowledge the only one who can save the earth. Now, let's have a sneak preview of the future. I bring you to the end. Now, in Mandarin, we say got有头有尾, got head, got tail, right? I bring you to the tail now. Revelations 4. Now, this is the best representation I can find of Revelation 4. Not the best, but it's under the circumstances, this was what I could find. Okay? First, you have John is shown a vision of the throne. The throne is surrounded by a rainbow like emerald. Now, I don't know whether any of you already detected the contradiction. Emerald is green. Rainbow got 7 colors. Why is rainbow like emerald? Okay? Pause. I'll get to that in a while. One who is seated on the throne, having the appearance, obviously God, having the appearance of jasper and carnelian. Jasper and carnelian basically are blood red jewels. Very beautiful, very pure. Again, why on earth is God compared to a jewel? Right? Around the throne there are 4 creatures. One like a lion, one like an ox, one like a face of a man, one like an eagle in flight. After that, surrounding the throne itself like a castle moat, you have now this a sea of glass, like crystal. Around that, you have 24 elders on thrones, all of whom have golden crowns. And when the 4 creatures worship God, the elders all you sing the song casting their crowns, right? So they threw their crowns down. Because why? God is so majestic, no crown, no power on earth can be compared to him. So all worship together. Okay? Now, what about the vision? As I told you before, right? Why is it that, why is rainbow 7 colors, emerald 1 color, God, carnelian and jasper? Why? What's going on? Remember, this is symbolic language. What's going on here? The perfection, what John is trying to convey to us is the perfection and beauty of what he has seen is so unearthly, is so unnatural, it is quite literally out of this world. You can't find it in this world. All right? Now, to many of us, it is a fantastical picture, and it is. It is a fantastical picture. But you have to be mindful. For John to say that, it was an explosive thing to say. Okay? That is the sort of statement that will get you an appointment with the ISD of the Roman Empire. Why? Because you got the Roman emperor. How dare you say that there's another king? There's a competing empire. Okay? It is a daring revelation. Now, interestingly enough, the other person who says the same thing as John, who uses the same imagery as John, is Ezekiel. You read Ezekiel chapter 1. Both draw on the imagery of an imperial court. And they dare to say it, however explosive it is, they say it because the point they're trying to make is, whatever you see, whatever majesty and splendor of the world's kings and powers you see, God's one is far greater and far grander. All the things of this world, nothing compared. Okay? All earthly versions are in fact very poor imitations of the real thing. Now, the other feature of Revelation 4 is that God's throne is portrayed in temple terms. What does this mean? It means that it is more than a display of power. God demands and is worthy of total and exclusive worship and devotion. Now, the emperor that exiled John to Patmos, his name is Domitian. Now, like all emperors, Domitian demanded to be worshipped as a god. But even Domitian never dared to claim to be creator. Jesus, on the other hand, is both creator and God. He accepts worship as God, worthy of devotion, and creator, source of life. Okay? This is what we will see when the Lord returns. But he gives us a little bit of glimpses here and there. Luke chapter 8. We read about the disciples and Jesus getting into a boat going to the other side. Now, the other side meaning the Sea of Galilee, Lake Kinneret. Okay? As I've also often mentioned to you before, the mountain ranges on the northern side of the shore gives a funneling effect to the wind front. So sometimes the wind will explode onto the Sea of Galilee, causing violent storms. It happens. Okay? So a storm came upon the boat, and it was in danger of sinking. After all, they were not on Royal Caribbean. They were on a small sampan. It's very easy to storm that boat. They were in danger of going down. And what was Jesus doing? He was sleeping, taking a nap. Disciples panic, wake up. Hey! Teacher, all this can sleep, And then Jesus wakes up, as I told you before, in his classic Jesus pattern, looks at the wind and the raging waves, looks at the wind, violent wind, and says, shut up! Basically, that's what it means. He rebuked the wind and waves. And then suddenly, the calm is more deafening than the storm. And then the disciples were afraid. Suddenly they realized God is right there. I'll explain in a while. Okay? Now, Jesus calms the storm with a word. He says, silence, be still, or the Singlish version which I've demonstrated. He doesn't calm the storm with some sight and some display, some grand thing, like Harry Potter spell. No, he just says it and it stops. That, by the way, is God's preference. He doesn't want us to rely too much on signs and wonders. Signs and wonders there will be, but he doesn't want that to be the foundation of our faith. What he wants to be the foundation of our faith, our reliance on the sureness of his word. He says it, we trust him, full stop. Okay? Likewise, he demonstrates here. He calms the storm with a word. Now, let's compare what Jesus did with other understanding. First of all, the pagan world, okay, they believe that the gods can control certain elements, but largely localized and limited. Now, the Jewish understanding of miracles, on the other hand, is, a godly person may be able to persuade God to do something. Jesus, on the other hand, commands it on his own authority. That's who we are worshipping. Okay? Now, what is a lesson for CCK? Lesson for us. We should be interested in saving the earth. But saving the earth itself is not our final aim. Our final aim is glorification of God. Now, how do we glorify God? Well, we worship him, of course, but we keep in step with him and we worship him. We have a different final goal. For us, saving the world is the journey, not the destination. What is our destination? Next slide. Now, I actually showed this before, undercover boss. All right? Now, Jesus is going to, suddenly when Jesus comes back, he'll unveil he's the real God now. Let's see who the real boss is, okay? When the world finally realizes who the real God is, that's when God shows us and the world who actually saves the world. Not our activism. Him. In a sense, it's like going back to the original design, but even better. Now, it sounds impossible, right? You remember I told you at St. Andrew's Cathedral, the stained glass? Apparently, during the Second World War, a bomb went off somewhere near it, shattered the glass. Members kept the fragments. After the war was over, they went and pieced it back. Now, today you can't guess, right? You think it's, wow, very beautiful. No. Now, that's what God can do with you. You think there are cracks in your life, and there are. Maybe there are. And God can turn that around and make it even more beautiful than when you first began. That's the grace of God. Okay? Now, he's going to come back. He's going to restore everything. In a sense, it's like the original design without the fall. Okay? Now, when God truly saves the earth, what happens? As I said, he may or may not undo some of the things. But he will redeem and he will restore. Now, what is our part when that moment comes? First, to usher in the glory of God. Second, after God returns, we protect their beauty. In a sense, it's back to Genesis 2 again. But this time, instead of doing it as though we are God, we do it in partnership and in subordination to God. The picture is now restored to its proper place. All right? Now, what does it mean in real life? Well, I think we need to ask ourselves 3 questions. 1, how do you care for creation? Earth Hour is every March, if I remember correctly. For 1 hour, we will switch off all electrical appliances. Might I suggest to you, every time you leave a room, you switch off all the appliances, you do more than what you can do in an Earth Hour. Okay, we practice proper stewardship of what we have. Sounds very easy, right? Leave a room, switch off the appliances. That's your part. Because you're conscious in it. Okay? Now, how do you care for creation? That's pretty much determines how you are saving the earth in the Christian way. Second, is Jesus your King? Our name says it all. Chapel of Christ, the King. Our logo says it all. Is Jesus your King? Is he your King? Or is he one of the kings? Now, if Jesus is your King, is that evident to people who interact with you, including your harshest critics, including your most bitter enemies? Is it obvious to them that Jesus is your King? Third one, how is your work a worship to the Lord? That's a new perspective I hope to leave with you. Your work is no longer just a work anymore. Now, I've often quoted that Martin Luther said this, a good cobbler worships God by making good shoes. Now, I'm wrong, Martin Luther didn't actually say that. But the quote actually did happen to somebody. A good cobbler worships God by making good shoes. You worship God by consistently turning in a good piece of work, whatever is entrusted to you, however mundane, even if nobody notices. Because all these will be echoes of Genesis 2 and Revelations 4, all in one. So I want to leave that with you. Can we keep this slide on for a while? I'm going to ask us if I say close your eyes, you can't see, right? So just be in a posture of meditation. Okay? These questions are there. You want to save the earth, Christian style. These are the 3 questions you have to address. Okay? Let's be quiet, silent before the Lord.